Merry Christmas, what's up? And today I'm gonna continue to do my year-end lists, starting off with top 10 TV shows of 2018. And usually I would split them apart with top 10 best TV episodes and top 10 best TV seasons. Uh, yeah, let's get started, shall we? I'm not gonna do a top 10 worst because I truly don't know. I don't actively go out and look for bad TV shows. So I don't truly know what TV shows are bad, and if they are really that bad, I probably don't know about it. But I can assure you one thing: 13 Reasons Why season 2 sucks ass. Uh, But, let's talk about the best TV episodes of 2018 first. At number 10, I'm giving it to The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Season 2, Episode 9. Vote for Kennedy. Vote for Kennedy. And The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is basically a comedic female version of Mad Men. And it's pretty on point. The historical facts are really accurate here. And it's easily one of the funniest episodes I've came across all year. And at number 9, I'm going to give it to This Is Us, Season 2, Episode 14, Superbowl Sunday, a really tear-inducing and powerful and hard-hitting episode. And it's also one of those really realistic, in-your-face episodes that show us this is life. At number 8, it's Better Call Saul's Season 4 finale, Winner, which I've talked about quite a bit. You can check out my Better Call Saul Season 4 review. And Winner is a very conclusive ending for Season 4, and it builds up for more to come for Better Call Saul's last season, final season, Season 5. Yeah, it's a huge, important transition between Jimmy McGill and Saul Goodman, and a lot had happened in Gus and Mike's part as well. And at number 7, have to give to Barry Season 1, Episode 7, with Chapter 7, Loud, Fast, and Keep Going. And Barry is easily one of the most interesting shows of the year, and this episode mixes that interesting bit and that suspenseful bit with some really hard-hitting and tragic storylines that took place in the episode, and it's a very memorable episode. Number 6, The Handmaid's Tale, Season 2, Episode 10, The Last Ceremony. I love this episode. This is one of the best written episodes this year, and certainly my favorite Handmaid's Tale episode, come to think about it. Yeah, I've also given a full review on The Handmaid's Tale Season 2. Check it out. And The Last Ceremony is easily the most eventful and most unpredictable episode of the entire series. It starts off really dark. It's really disturbing and horrifying. But then the second half of the episode takes a brighter turn. It becomes more hopeful. It becomes more shocking, even. And then at the end, something just happens, and in the entire show, the tone just changes 180 degree back to the dark and horrifying tone again. And it's just a really well-written and eventful episode. Then we enter the top 5 episodes that really, really impressed me, and really impressed the world of TV goers as well. TV goers, TV binge watchers, I guess. And easily one of the most iconic episodes of the year, Atlanta, Season 2, Episode 7, Teddy Perkins. It's a bottle episode. It's a weird episode that doesn't necessarily relate to the main storyline of Atlanta at all. And this episode is really terrifying. It reminds me of Get Out, the movie last year by Jordan Peele. And it's basically the protagonist Darius went into a house of a white man, quote to quote, because it's not really, it's a weird man, and it's just such a weird and suspenseful and scary episode. And legend says that the man, aka Teddy Perkins, is played by Donald Glover, the but Lakeith Stanfield didn't even know that. So at number 4, surprisingly, I have to give it to The Walking Dead season 9 episode 5. What comes after? Walking Dead season 7 and 8 are total mess. There are a lot of shit episodes in season 7 and 8, but season 9 sort of returned to a good show. And even though there are still drab, boring, redundant moments in season 9, one of the most powerful and hard-hitting and heart-wrenching moments in season 9 is what comes after, which is actually Rick's exit from the show. And no, it's not a spoiler alert because everybody knows about it. Before they released this episode, we are already informed that Rick, or Andrew Lincoln, is leaving The Walking Dead, so the show have to somehow get rid of him. And this episode is it's the last Rick episode, and it's really touching. It revisits a lot of old scenes that Rick had been throughout the show, and it's powerful. I don't know what's the point of The Walking Dead without Rick. But anyway, this episode is a great ending for Rick, I'd say. Then at number 3, I'm giving it to Westworld season 2 finale, The Passenger. A lot of episodes in season 2 aren't all that eventful, and I'm not too crazy about it, but it's the finale that got me totally mind-fucked. I mean, after watching the episode, I just sat there and didn't talk for like 5 minutes, and I have to process it. In fact, I may have to rewatch it because it's just so mind-bending, it's just so brain-twisting, and it's like a puzzle, but it's slowly unraveling itself. And apparently there are 3 or 4 timelines in season 2, and they all sort of converge into one on the last episode, and they all somehow connect to each other, and there is an epic reveal, not an epic reveal, a few epic reveals, at least 3 epic reveals towards the end, and it's just turns and twist after turns and twist, and characters like Bernard and old, I can't spoil it, but Man in Black, and also Dolores, they go in and out of weird worlds and dimensions, in and out of reality, and in and out of worlds, and sometimes we don't even know what's going on because we are in a perspective of some character who's going under some sort of weird process, and it's 1.5 hours long, and Radiohead's Codex is a great way to end off the episode and end off the season. But what's even more epic would be the finale, the series finale for Daredevil, Season 3, Episode 13, A New Napkin. I know it's kind of weird to compare Daredevil with Breaking Bad, but Daredevil really tried to pull off a Breaking Bad on the last season. I know Daredevil is not as good as Breaking Bad, in my opinion, but the season finales, or, the last 5 or 6 episodes of the season, of the entire series in general, is really intense, really epic, full of twists and turns, ups and downs. It's truly a ride, and there isn't anything cringy or corny about it. It's straight up hard-hitting, and dark and disturbing Marvel TV show. I just wish that the CW DC TV shows would do the same as Daredevil, because what Daredevil really presented here is a very dark and memorable and jaw-dropping epic ending. But what's really, really epic and jaw-dropping would have to be my number one spot for the best episode of the year, The Americans, Season 6, Episode 10, Start, S-T-A-R-T. The Americans start out as an okay show about Russian spies living in the USA, but it just got more and more intense, it got more and more insane, and then we reach the end. The last season of The Americans is truly jaw-dropping, truly shocking, truly astounding, and the very, very last episode really turns the last chapter and presents some of the most intense and suspenseful and revelating storylines. Just super impressed with how the writers of The Americans wrapped up the show. That being said, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 seasons of 2018. Let's get into the honorable mentions. TV shows that are kind of good actually, but it's not as good in order to end up in the top 10. The Haunting of Hill House, Homecoming, Bodyguard, Maniac, which is a really weird special TV show where Jonah Hill and Emma Stone goes to different places, different worlds. It's a little Inception-esque, I guess. American Crime Story, The Assassination of Gianni, Versace, and Glow, Season 2. Number 10 would be Kidding, Season 1. Jim Carrey is back, and wow. I know the show isn't all that eventful or crazy or anything, but the plot, the premise itself is very interesting and insightful, and the show details a kids show host, who slowly becomes insane after all these conflicts and things happening to him, and Jim Carrey really killed it as the protagonist, and it's just such an unsettling and disturbing season. And it's also one of those rare TV shows that makes us root for the protagonist, even though we know that the protagonist is not always right. Similar to shows like Mad Men and, of course, again, Breaking Bad. Walter White and Don Draper aren't really perfect people. In fact, they are very much not. So is the protagonist in Kidding. And then at number 9, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Season 2. Again, it's like the Mad Men, but the comedic female version. And it's a special one. It's a really special one. Not only is the execution and the production of the show is great, I think it's a really, really funny season. I'm not too bought on the premise of the show, however, but I still like it for what it is, and it's a smart, witty show about female in the 50s in the USA, and it's a lot of fun. At number 8, it's Westworld Season 2. And I know a lot of people hate Westworld Season 2 because it's just so complicated, it's just so confusing, and it's so, I guess, it's more cognitive and cerebral than it is dramatic and exciting and eventful. And I do get it. And that's why it didn't land higher in the list. But I still love how deep and cognitive it goes. The more the season progresses, the more heavy and philosophical it feels. And by the end of the season, with the passenger, of course, it feels like the show is diving deep into consciousness, humanity, reality, existence, purpose, and it just runs so deep. I don't know why, but I don't know. Plus all the puzzles and all the strange twists and scenes. Plus we also get to see other worlds outside of Westworld, the Raj. At number 7, I'm giving it to Killing Eve, first season. One of the most interesting show I've come across all year. And and it talks about a cop, a female cop, and a psychopath Russian teenage girl, not really teenage, adolescent girl who fell in love. And it's a weird premise, but it sets up for a lot of interesting things and also a lot of suspense and tension. And the character of Villanelle, the Russian psychopath girl, she's amazing. Of course, she is amazingly portrayed by Jodie Comer, that's her name, right? Who's a British actor, but in here, she is really rootable, even though, again, she's not the protagonist. I mean, she's the protagonist, but also the anti-hero. And she's a very interesting character, I have to say. At number 6, I'm giving it to... I actually don't know. Number 6 and 5 is kind of a tie, but if I have to choose one spot for sixth place, I have to go with Better Call Saul season 4. I think it's an awesome season, even though it's slow. It's a slow burner, and it's not as eventful as season 3, which is awesome. It's still a very solid season, and there are a lot of really well written scenes that has a lot of tension and suspense in them, and we also get more Gus and Mike involved, and also Nacho, a very critical character in the show as well. Please go watch it. And at number 5, I've made my decision. Barry, season 1. Again, amazing and interesting show. A hitman went to LA to murder an actor, but because of that, he kind of joined an acting class, and it's a very awkward premise, but that is the reason why the show is so damn funny. But at the same time, it can be very dark and destructive and almost disturbing as well. And that's why the show is really one of the most outrageous but also stupidly realistic shows of the year. Brilliantly created by Bill Hader. You may know him from Saturday Night Live, and he's amazing here. He is amazing. At number 4, Atlanta Season 2. Donald Glover coming back once again, not only as Childish Gambino to release one of the best songs of the year, but he really made another great season of TV. And it's just funny episodes after funny episodes. It's really creative as well. A lot of the comedy shows right now are just so stale and so unfunny, and instead it's cringy, but not in a witty kind of way, just trying too hard to be funny. But Atlanta is legit funny, and it's also very creative. There are a lot of weird bits about the episode, about the season, the storylines and all, but that is the reason why the show is always kept energetic, and the storylines are always kept interesting and laser focused. And at number 3, I'm giving it to Daredevil's final season 3. It's they are going the Breaking Bad way, which is leaving all the juiciest storylines for the last season, and wow, this season does deliver some of the most intense and epic and destructive and disturbing storylines yet in the history of superhero television. I mean, there are bad Marvel TV shows like Iron Fist. I don't really care for Iron Fist, but this is awesome. This is like the Dark Knight, but for Marvel. It's really dark. It's not for kids. I'm gonna put it at that. It's not for kids, and it's gonna really grab you. And at number 2, I'm giving it to the very brutal and gruesome depiction of a very brutal and cruel nation of what's the country called? Gilead, right? Handmaid's Tale season 2. Go watch my review. Wow, this season is way better than season 1 in my opinion. Lots of ups and downs. The first half of the season are way more unpredictable. We explore more unexplored regions and zones, and we learn more about Gilead and the people outside. And we also get to learn about what happened in Canada, in Toronto, I think. But wow! And then the second half just becomes very dark, very tense, especially when more and more characters get involved. Even though there are a couple of storylines that I don't quite see the meaning of, I still think the season is a superbly well written season, and the way it portrays life in Gilead is just so dark and disturbing and depressing, and and the ending of the thing. Wow. But at number 1, I have to give it to The Americans last season. They really bring it back home in the last season, presenting some of the most top-notch, suspenseful, intense, juiciest storylines that they would ever come up with, and they pack it all in the last season. And wow, a lot of revelations and twists and turns. Just like I've mentioned, START or Start is truly the best episode of the entire year. And the way it just finishes, the way the story finishes itself in The Americans, how the people, the family ended up in The Americans is it doesn't just leave you there. It really puts on a full stop, a solid full stop, and it's bittersweet. It's truly bittersweet, and it will definitely shock you and leave you stunned and stoked. That is basically my top 10 TV episodes and seasons of the year. What are yours? What's your favorite TV show of 2018? Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want more.